All right, well, welcome back to the Filmographies podcast. I'm very happy to be joined here today by Justin Sirkin, director of a really, really great short film he reached out to me with called Reseda, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Right.
But yeah, thank you so much for being here, Justin,
Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
for sure. And yeah, I think if we just start off, if you tell me a bit about yourself, how you got into film, kind of everything film related leading up to making this short would be really great.
Yeah, so when I was a kid, I was about 4 years old, I saw Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and I was born in 2001, so I saw it like around the time that it came out. Um and I was just like totally blown away by that movie, like just completely mesmerized. And I remembered like thinking to myself, I don't know like who makes this, but I want to make this. And after I watched that, I would like take my toys and I would just try to like reenact what I saw. So that was kind of the first time I personally remember feeling that I wanted to do something with film. And ever since then, um when I was like in middle school, I was starting to kind of write down my ideas and write short stories. And I my dad has shown me movies ever since I was a kid. He's shown me a lot of classics. 2001: A Space Odyssey was another like really important film that I watched early on as a kid when I was about 10. And that really like opened me up to see like how what you could actually do with a movie, like philosophically, thematically,
Yeah.
and technically. So but yeah, when I got to middle school and I started writing my own ideas down, I started to think about, what do I really want to do like with my life? And I just wanted to be a director, like very badly.
Mhm.
And when I got to high school, I started directing my own shorts. And I did a couple film programs in high school. When I was 16, I got accepted to this film program called the California State Summer School for the Arts, which is held at CalArts every summer. And great program, really wonderful, really like opened me up kind of artistically. Um, and then the summer after that, which is like summer of 2018, when I was 17 years old, um, I went to NYU Tisch for their summer program. And so I did these couple summer programs, and that was all great. I really learned a lot from them, and just kind of like finding like, how to where to place a camera, and like how to edit, and where like how to, shoot shots that look nice. um and I've always been a writer too. So writing is like where it all like kind of stems from. Like I'm always like I write all my films. So um yeah, but then I got to college after high school, and I went to Cal State University in Northridge in the San Fernando Valley. And that was great, and I just graduated this past May. So I'm really fresh out. And I told myself, right out of high school, or sorry, right out of college, I'm gonna try and get into my first feature film. And so my last semester is when I made Reseda. And I came up with the idea for Reseda while I was still in college, like like over a year ago, a little over a year ago. And I was just kind of really like uncertain about, what's going to happen after college. I just was kind of feeling that sense of uncertainty. So I needed something to laugh at.
Mhm.
And that's when I came up with this character, Sil Getzman, who's this drug dealer who's a complete idiot.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what's led me to make this short film Reseda. um but the plan has always been to make a feature film of it Like it started, the idea was like, I'm gonna make this a feature film, but let me do a short film so I can just kind of use it to pitch the feature.
Definitely. And was this the first feature film that you wrote? Or this was the first
Oh,
script you completed?
no, actually. I had another film that I was going to do as my first for a long time. Like when I was right after I got out of Cal Arts, this is like late 2017. I was I really I got this idea to do a film about these teenagers growing up in the valley, and it's very personal to me, and I wanted it to be kind of like a American Graffiti for kids who grew up in the 2010s.
Hmm.
So that was going to be my first one, and I wrote a script for that, and I was going to do a short for that also, but I just wasn't ready to do it. I just wasn't ready, and I needed to do something that was a little more achievable because it just became this huge thing. Like I wrote that script, and it was like over like 2.5 hours long, like
Oh, yeah.
very long script. And
Hmm.
so I kind of needed to take a break from it and then actually like focus and do something more achievable. So that's why I decided to go with Reseda first before I did that one.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. That's definitely whatever's happening in that script, 2.5 hours of anything, which will be even more when you shoot it, is I can see
Yeah.
what you were thinking of by trying to scale down.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is that one is like the end product. I don't even want that one to be 2.5 hours. Like I want
Hmm.
that one to be an hour and 40 minutes or 45 minutes because I want to like if I'm ever going to do a 2.5 hour movie, I want to earn that. I want to like make films a bit shorter first and then kind of work up to something like that. So yeah.
Yeah. Were there any filmmakers when you're growing up too, any specific ones that you came across that you were quickly able to recognize as like those are my people? These are my guiding
Oh,
lights for that. What were some of those filmmakers, or who were some of those filmmakers?
well, I the number one guy is for me is Quentin Tarantino. I just like too influential to me. Like when I was like a teenager, I was like desperately trying and failing to copy him. Like I
Hmm.
was trying to like write exactly like him. And like there were times when I'd be like late, like staying up very late and then writing just random scenes and trying to just kind of copy the way he writes dialogue. And sometimes I would like get kind of like close, but I never would actually achieve it.
Hmm.
And I kind of realized at some point, like, if I'm really influenced by this guy, I'm gonna just the way I just naturally write something, you'll be able to see the influence on from him if I just do it my own way. So that's kind of what I've been doing. But he's my guy. He's like I've there's nobody I've studied more. Just like as a person. Like I there's nobody I've studied more than him. So he's definitely he's number one. Um I would say George Lucas is another one just because not necessarily the way he shoots a movie or writes a movie, but more so the world building that he makes. That's something I really like in a movie whenever you watch it and there's clearly like a built-in world and unique things about the world, which is what I've kind of tried to do with Reseda a little bit. Another one is Richard Linklater, who made Dazed and Confused and Slacker, and the Before trilogy. He's a huge influence to me. Um, it kind of in the writing way and in the directing way. I just love the way he focuses a lot on like suburban life, and Reseda is kind of is a movie about suburban life, and I've grown up in suburbia my whole life, so I kind of personally connect with that as well. Um, and then also I would say Kevin Smith. Clerks is my favorite comedy of all time.
Hmm.
Yeah. Have you seen Clerks?
I have, yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the kind of humor influenced me. But somebody who's not a filmmaker who has really influenced me is Larry David. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Curb Your Enthusiasm was a huge influence on me. Just the way he kind of creates an insane situation and has himself be at the expense of
Yeah.
the comedy is hilarious to me. Um, those would probably be the major ones, and the last like big major one would be Donald Glover, for the show Atlanta. That's like one of my favorite shows of all time, and was a huge influence to Reseda. Huge.
Yeah. That's great. How did these influences kind of start coming together into the writing process? If that makes sense of like how did you get into like starting to think about this idea specifically? What were these ideas you were pulling from all these different inspirations, and how did that lead you into getting this specific film up and running?
Well, it's funny because like some of it is not like conscious at all. Some of like the influence is just not even like um I'm not thinking about Linklater when I'm writing, really. It's just kind of something I notice along the way. But the idea of doing this film about this drug dealer who's a complete moron um came from the fact that I needed something to laugh at. I kind of was like not I wasn't going through a great time um during this period of college, and I just wanted to make something kind of like Curb Your Enthusiasm, but I wanted to combine it with a genre film, like a fun genre film, and I've always wanted to do a crime movie. Um so and because to be honest, like Pulp Fiction is like my favorite movie of all time, and I really wanted to do a crime film and then combine it with something else that's like super different. So those two were definitely like in my head when I was like writing the script. Um, but the other ones like George Lucas and Kevin Smith and Linklater, those kind of just came naturally. Didn't I wasn't like consciously thinking about them. Um, it's just kind of something I noticed like later on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's part of that soup, I guess, is a way to think about it. It's all these things you're throwing in there, and they're kind of simmering, and it comes out later as a fully formed thing that has all these different flavors and inspirations. But it's
Yeah,
yeah, not a direct. I'm gonna do a Linklater scene. I'm gonna do a Tarantino scene here. Uh,
right, right.
yeah, definitely see what you're saying.
Also, sometimes though, like I mean, I'll admit, like in Reseda, the last shot of the film, um, when Syl is running away from these mobsters chasing him,
Mm-hmm.
that was like I consciously was ripping off Atlanta. Consciously. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's an episode when there's an episode called The Alligator Man, and there's
Oh,
a
that's
shot.
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Have you
Sorry,
seen
yeah,
that
yeah,
episode?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I love Atlanta
Yeah.
too. I was trying to think of it before you told me. I was like, I know, I
Oh
have it
yeah.
in my head. I couldn't place it, but sorry. Yeah, keep going.
No, yeah, no, there's a shot when the character that Cat Williams plays, like the alligator man, he's
Hmm.
running away down the street. And I saw that and I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna take that.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna take that and make it my own thing. So there are times when I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna like, rip this and
Hmm.
that. But other times I'm not thinking about it at all.
Do you feel like you have a specific thought process for when those moments come across? Like, is that something in the writing that comes to you, or like once you're there on set and you're seeing kind of location and what you have available? In the cases where you do kind of nod to something or quote something more specifically.
It's funny, like I knew I was gonna do that shot before we shot it. I
Hmm.
knew, like I told my DP, I'm like, we're doing this like this way. And but there are times like when I'm writing a script, I don't outline anything. Like I really want to try and find it and let the characters evolve and bring the plot forward. But I have an idea of where it's going. Um, so I leave room for improvisate. Like I leave a lot of room for just kind of improvising. Um, Same thing on set. The way I kind of like to do it on set is I like to block the actors out first and then figure out where I'm going to put the camera. Um, but there's times when I like I guess like to answer your question, like there's not like I don't have like a like the thought process of like, oh, I'm going to, I guess it really just depends on how I'm feeling that day. If I'm like really feeling like inspired by something very specific, I'll be on set and I'll be like, okay, we're gonna get the Atlanta shot now. Um, but other times it's just like it just kind of evolves naturally. I don't not even again like not even thinking about it. And I like working that way just because I don't want to overthink everything. I used to overthink everything like when I was a teenager and I was trying to like write like Tarantino. I feel like I was kind of overthinking it and judging it as I was writing it, and I've learned to not do that.
Yeah.
And I think it's been a lot more fun uh just kind of letting it evolve naturally.
Yeah, definitely. There's something to be said for sure about you still want to be able to make and find the movie a bit like you were saying with writing, how you don't like outlining. I've always found it if you can definitely over prep something, whereas you
Mhm.
get to set and then it's just like, all right, well, we know exactly what we're supposed to do, and there's like the schedule's just this way, and we can't really have any fun in a way with it. It's like we can't really improvise and find those fun things, the like happy accidents that happen along the way.
Yeah,
Um,
no, there was a lot of happy accidents that happened when we were shooting. One thing that happened is the production design. This Sill's roommate in the film, the guy who's eating the Cheez-Its,
mhm,
there's all this like junk and trash on the table in front of him, and that was not planned at all. That was there
mhm,
when we got there, and I was like, let's just keep it.
yeah,
So yeah, I love happy accidents.
yeah. What was the like specific pre-production process for this film? Like how long did it take you to get everything together, and did you have any rehearsal
So
time
it
casting?
was so fast.
Yeah.
It was so fast because like I said, I was trying to get another short made right before this, and this one kind of evolved out of being frustrated with that other one.
Mhm.
And I was like, am I allowed to curse on this?
Yeah, please.
Well, I was kind of like, fuck it, I just need to direct something. So I wrote the short film for Reseda really fast in like a day, not even a day, like a night. And then I wrote it with all my friends from college in mind, like my best friend who plays Sil, Ravi Neal. Like I wrote it for him. And so, and I wrote it really fast. And my other friends who are his roommates in real life, they're in the film. The guy Ving, who's the dude in the ski mask, he's another one of my friends, and he's roommates with Ravi. And so, I just called them up that same evening and I was like, we're shooting this next week because I need to direct something. And I got everything together in about a week and we shot it at their house and at my house. So it was just it was a really fast pre-production phase. Um, but thankfully I knew like I had already written a good amount of the feature, so I already knew the characters, or I knew some of the characters. Um, but yeah, that it was super fast and we shot it in about 2 days.
Wow. And so this is
Yeah,
a case where this sequence, the scene was not in the script or any plan you already had. It was more based off what you had been writing.
a little bit. Well, the thing is, the story in the short film is a sequence in the feature,
Mm.
but I had not written the sequence in the feature yet.
Okay. I see.
So when I went back to when I finished the short and I went back to finish the feature script, I knew I wanted to put the sequence in, and I did, but it actually does play out a little differently in the feature. It's a little longer and there's a little more like context into a bigger story. But yeah, I kind of, it mostly just came from like I knew who this character was. This character is Syl. I knew who he was, and I was able to just kind of create a short film version of him. So the short film version of him is like it's close to who he is in the feature, but there's so much more that I'm exploring with him in the feature.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's hard making a short because you really don't have like all the time in the world. Neither do you have it for for a feature film either, but like it's just so much, you have so much like less time, and you have to just kind of like figure out what's a very like concise beginning, middle, and end in that short amount of time. And like that's hard to do. And to do that, like to make like a proof of concept for a feature, it has to be like its own thing. It has to almost be like its own film and story. And so that's why it plays out a little differently in the feature.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting point. I think shorts can definitely seem easier compared to features just in terms of scope and length, but making, like you said, a really great short with all those elements that is does feel contained and not just like a teaser for something else is extremely difficult. Was this the first, or how many shorts had you like produced independently kind of in this fashion before? Like was this your first time going this quickly with the pre-production and production, or had you done more traditional, quote unquote traditional productions in the past with a larger crew and
Well,
more schedule?
well, yes, I have. I have. This one was really kind of like unusual in that way. It just kind of was like, man, I haven't directed anything in a while, and I need to, or else I'm going to, I don't know, be really unhappy.
Yeah.
I It was like a need. It wasn't like oh, I want to do this. Like I needed to get this out of me. Um, but before I did, one of my really close friends, he's a director. His name is Cole Swanson, and he he had me produce a film for him during the pandemic, and that was his short film, and we raised money for that, about $20,000. And I don't even really produce, and I don't even really like producing. I enjoyed producing for him because he's one of my best friends, and I loved his film. But um, as far as like directing goes, this is probably the fastest that one of my films has gone into production. So yeah, this was just kind of an unusual situation in that way.
Yeah. And how did you feel about the experience afterwards, having completed it like this fast and in a different way than you were used to?
I felt great about it. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm just making this with my friends. We're just having a good time. And it was hard to not laugh sometimes, like when we were on set, because it was a lot of fun. We were just all having a good time. It was like I was literally like I got my friends together. I wrote the film for my friends to act in, and I made it with my friends. And it was just such a fun thing. I remember just like driving over to my friend's house like in the morning before we shot, and I was so like excited. I was so giddy just to, man, I'm like I'm gonna make a movie today. It was just so, it was a great feeling. So yeah, it felt really wonderful just to like get it done. And I watch it all the time. I made it for me. Like I made it for myself. So it's like specifically tailored to me, like in a weird way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel great about it.
Yeah. That's great. I think that's how you find your audience or your people that way, is by making something at this scale where you have the freedom to do completely whatever you want, to make
Yeah.
something that is totally for you. And I feel like the more specific something is, it'll be almost more universal in a way than trying to please everyone from a distance.
I I completely agree with that. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I feel like people have to like please themselves first before you can please everybody else. Because if you're just trying to please everybody else, you may neglect your own tastes
Yeah.
and what you see. So I think it's super important.
Yeah. And how about the post-production side of this? Like how long did that take and was it just as fast? Yeah.
No, it was much longer. Post-production was about 5 months,
Wow.
actually. Um, we shot it so fast, and my editor turned out a very like good rough cut pretty soon after. But I was still in school. I was like in my last semester at Cal State Northridge, and I wanted to, and I was working and doing an internship, so I was just kind of busy. But I took my time with it, and I thought that was the right move because, I just shot this really fast. It would be good if I, let it breathe a bit now and just kind of um see how it evolves in the next few months. But I did get it done by the time that I graduated. Also sound took a little bit of time to get right. We had good sound on set. Um, but for about like 3 of those months, I was like watching the edit with bad sound, like without any post sound uh mix at all.
Mhm.
And it was like I was so happy once we got sounded. Like once we got our my I have a really wonderful post sound mixer. He's like one of my best friends. His name is Brandon Lien, and he worked wonders on this film. Wonders. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy.
It makes a huge difference for sure. Good sound and it's one of those things I think until you get in there with the rough footage, it's hard to see just how different it
Yeah,
feels if it's and how distracting it can be.
it's
Uh
so different.
yeah, much more than like a low quality camera image or something like that. I feel like is more easier to get around almost for like a casual viewer.
Absolutely.
But
So yeah, I
yeah, and then how about was this something were you submitting to any festivals or are you kind of keeping it more as the proof of concept idea for yourself to help develop the feature and pitch it?
no, well, it's kind of both actually. I have submitted to film festivals, and actually, it just got into the Sherman Oaks Film Festival as of yesterday.
Oh, awesome.
So
Congrats.
thank you. I'm very excited for that one because it's in the San Fernando Valley, and this is a movie about the valley. So um, yeah, no, I submitted to film festivals. Kind of seeing what's going to happen because I think what with the feature the plan is to start shooting next year, summer fall 2024, and by that time the festival run will probably be done for the short film.
Mhm.
So I'll be going to festivals like into next year, into like mid next year. um so but yeah, the kind of the thought my thought process is like, let me just get this in front of anybody who wants to watch it, um and see who my audience is and see what, like, who will like this film, and then try to just take it around, take it like find people who invest in movies and who are interested in this type of movie, which is a dark comedy. um so yeah, like that's kind of like I'm kind of doing like a hybrid plan, I guess.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
feel like what do you feel like you've learned from the screenings you have had or with the people you have shared it with?
Wow. uh I screened it a few weeks ago. I screened it at a film club in downtown LA, and it was with a bunch of filmmakers. And I noticed that a lot of people who are filmmakers like it. They're big fans of it because it's kind of a genre blendy movie because it's a dark comedy. It's also a crime film. Um, so I noticed like people who are really into film like it. Um, and then I have noticed I've been surprised, like some people who I did not think were going to maybe get the humor actually did like it. I've gotten a lot of great reactions, and that's surprised me because I think this is kind of like a strange film. Like I think it's got a kind of a strange sense of humor about it, which I don't think is for everybody. It's a little politically incorrect.
Mhm.
So that's definitely not going to be for everybody, and I accept that. But actually, surprisingly, more people have liked it than I thought.
That's
So
great. Yeah.
that's felt great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what you want. Uh, awesome. How, yeah, so where are you at now with the feature? What has the experience been like overall for you trying to fundraise for this movie and pitch it as a feature so far? Like, what
Yeah.
have you learned from that?
Well, it's been hard the last few months because of the strikes. Um,
Yeah.
it's kind of set us back a little bit, but not too bad. Because we're trying to attach an actor to the film. Um, in a few of the roles, specifically like the antagonist role in the feature. But in the feature, the main character Sil is still going to be played by Ravi, because I wrote it for him, and this is like the movie that me and him are doing together.
Mhm.
And same with the character Ving, the guy in the ski mask. I wrote it for that guy, my friend. So I'm keeping him as well. So but other roles I would like to really work with some great talent, and that's the plan, is we want to attach some talent to it, and then use that kind of momentum to bring it to companies. um so yeah, but we're also, kind of looking at a bunch of different funding options. Like we've applied to grants, we've submitted to contests. um we've I've tried looking at just like people who are in my community in the valley, who might be interested in helping us with a film about the valley. So there's just so many different angles that we're taking. We're trying to take every angle and see kind of what hits. But really, like, we want to attach some talent to the film, and find a company that's going to support this movie and understands the importance of comedy, um, and genre blending and stuff. So, but it's been a good experience. I mean, it's hard. It's always hard to make a movie, and
Yeah,
fun to move. But uh, we're taking one step at a time, and I feel very good about it.
that's great. Yeah, it's the strikes. Yeah, definitely gotta make it tough for that plan if you can't even audition. Is the plan to audition? Just kind of use like the actors access backstage kind of deal, or
No, no, actually, I've used both of those, and I
mhm.
think they're great. But no, the plan is kind of to reach out to managers of A-list talent, and try and try and see who's interested in the script and the characters. So yeah, because I there's a lot of talent that I would love to work with on this feature.
Yeah. Can you
Yeah.
name your your number one option for the antagonist?
um I don't know if I want to say that yet,
Okay.
to be honest.
Yeah.
Uh
Don't
yeah, I
jinx
don't
it.
know if I want to say that yet, but yeah, not even like jinxing it. I kind of want to keep that close to me. I kind of want it to be a surprise for people, whoever we get. Um so yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's been a piece of advice either you've gotten like directly from a filmmaker, professor, any influential film figure in your life, or even from an interview from somebody you never met that really kind of best prepared you for this period and this whole process?
That's a great question. Yeah, I think I mean, I watch interviews with all my favorite filmmakers, and all of like literally all of them say, like, if you want to make a movie, go and make a movie.
Yeah.
They just say, like, go out and do it. And at first, like, when you haven't really made a lot of stuff, or maybe you haven't made anything, that's kind of hard advice to hear, because you don't have any confidence yet, just because you haven't made anything. So just to say, like, go and make it is like kind of a hard thing to grasp at first, but now that I've actually like listened to the advice, um, I understand what they mean, which is
Mhm.
crazy. So that's kind of like why I'm just kind of going head in first and making my first feature. And I've made a good amount of shorts, and I just don't want to make shorts anymore. Like I want to make a feature. It's like been in my head for a long time. So but yeah, like just going and doing it, I think is actually a really good piece of advice. And just making something that you like, I guess Tarantino said once, make the best movie that you've never seen because you haven't made it yet. And I think that was really great advice because now it's like, okay, well, now I just have to write something that I really like that's like perfect for me. So I think that's really good advice. That has really carried me because I just want to see this damn movie.
Yeah.
I just want to see it so badly. And that's like the reason why I'm making it is I personally just want to see it so bad.
Yeah. I would
Yeah.
definitely like to see it as well. Is there anything else you'd like to share, uh, get out into the world, put out there about this film that you really want people to know about, anywhere they can go to learn more about it, anything like that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm always posting stuff on my Instagram, which is just at Justin Aaron Sirkin. On Instagram. I'm always That's where I usually post my stuff. I also have a website which is linked on my Instagram bio. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on yeah, LinkedIn, Instagram. Um, yeah, I mean, I just, once the short film, once I'm able to actually show the short film publicly, not privately, but like I can like post it publicly to Vimeo, um, people will be able to access it more readily. I can't publish it publicly yet because of festivals. So
Mhm.
yeah. But yeah, Instagram is where you can find me.
Awesome. Well, Justin, yeah, thank you so much for your time. It's great to chat about your films and really best of luck for the next part of your process.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you for doing this.
Of course.
Great questions. Thank
Thank
you.
you. I try.
Yeah.